rewarding, but we need to keep it clean. Thank you.
Thank the member for Warringah. The question is that the words proposed to be omitted stand part of the question, and I call the honourable member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. For many Australians, sport is an ingrained part of our national and personal identity. And I think it's for two reasons. One is that as a country, we see our sporting individuals and sporting teams' success as our entire country's success. You know, we are proud to cheer on Australian teams, and there's probably nothing that sport-loving Australians like more than cheering on Australians at the Olympic Games. And I'm conscious I'm speaking in this debate after a former Olympian, who I did cheer on, for the record. So we see the success of Australian athletes and teams as Australian success. And we also, as part of that, understand often that the large sporting moments in our history are political moments sometimes and culture-changing moments. And you don't have to look any further than Cathy Freeman's magnificent victory at the 2000 Olympics as evidence of that. Because that was not only an amazing, successful win for an athlete that perhaps we will never see the like of again for her natural ability. It was also an incredibly strong statement about the history and the possibility for the future of the relationship between those of us who have come to Australia in the last 200 or so years and the longest living civilisation in the world, in our First Nations people. And in her quiet and unassuming but incredibly determined and powerful way, Cathy Freeman paved the next 20 years really in Australia of that walk to reconciliation that we are still on, but we are so much further down the road because of her and her amazing athletic ability. I think the second reason so many Australians have sport intrinsically inbound in their personal and national identity is because those of us who are involved in grassroots local sport understand that, yes, it's about playing the game. Sometimes it's about being able to win and get a trophy, but most of the time it's about the community that forms around your club or that forms around the sport that you play, and the support that local clubs and sporting associations give to people in the community, not just when they're playing their sport, but at their time of need. And they are two big reasons why Australians, on the whole, are so passionate about integrity in sport, about a fair playing field and everyone getting the same go and having the same opportunity to have that successful outcome. We see examples everywhere of how local sporting clubs and associations are so much more than just the game that they play. And I want to today take this opportunity to congratulate Game Changers reuniting the Peninsula Relay Run that was run 2 weekends ago. 22 MP FNL clubs, 22, all of them, all of the MP FNL clubs participated in a 174-kilometre relay, visiting the clubs of each, the club grounds of each of those clubs in one day to reunite the clubs on the peninsula after this horrid year of 2020 and to look forward to season 2021, but just as importantly to raise money for mental health education programs, which will be delivered to the MPNFL in 2021 and beyond. Game Changer provides the link between those who need help and those who can provide it, and every single club in that league stepped up and participated in the Peninsula Relay Run. And I want to thank all of the clubs and all of the people that participated. But of course, I want to particularly thank the Pines, YCW, Seaford, Langy, Mount Eliza, the Bombers and Kooringal for doing what everyone in our community knows that you do all the time, fostering bonds, fostering connectedness, fostering community and making sure you contribute to people in our community who need help at the time they need it, as well as competing fiercely against each other in order to try to win that trophy. Integrity in sport is also, as I said, about fairness, and Australians are very keen to be able to see decisions being made in a way that is transparent and based on some obvious criteria. And while it might seem that I'm about to launch into the government over the sports rorts, before I do that, what I want to do is echo the sentiment of Michelle Martin, one of Australia's finest female athletes, and former world #1 squash player, on behalf of everyone around the world who loves the sport that I love, to say that it is extraordinary that breakdancing is in the 2024 Olympics and squash isn't. Now, before any breakdancers get upset with me, I think you're amazing. I don't know how you do what you do, and you're incredible athletes, plus you've got great rhythm. Don't get me wrong, sport dancing, terrific, but I'm sorry, it doesn't belong in the Olympics before squash does. You know, squash around the world, headed by Nicole David, who is the second best female squash player ever after Australia's magnificent Heather Mackay, and Ramy Ashour, who is absolutely the most freakishly talented man ever to play squash, ran an amazing campaign to get squash into the Tokyo Olympics. And we were all beside ourselves with amazement and dismay when we didn't get in. And basketball, which has already got in, were allowed to have another division of 3x3 basketball. There's all sorts of different categories for BMX, and squash couldn't make the Tokyo Olympics. And now we are absolutely flabbergasted and dismayed, and I just want to quote what Michelle Martin said, almost at the point of thinking that perhaps the Olympic Games might become a mockery because squash can't make the Olympic Games, and these apparently modern sports that appeal to young people can. Olympics mean something. Olympic medals mean something. And I call on the Australian Olympic Committee and the International Olympic Committee to just take a long, hard look at yourselves and just put squash in the Olympic Games. While you're at it, have a little bit of a look at softball and baseball and cricket and netball and these sports that can't make the Olympic Games when sports like basketball get to have a 3x3 competition. Just want to finish my contribution by speaking to the second reading amendment briefly and saying that the sports rorts scandal that this government engaged in order to try to bribe its way to an election victory diminishes this government. The way they've handled it since it was uncovered diminished this government. But just as importantly, it is just another dagger to the heart of integrity and trust in the political system. And it was done using people who volunteer hundreds of hours of their time in order to have their local club that they love have a chance to get a grant so that their facilities are that much better. And that's a slap in the face. We have so many sporting facilities that should be upgraded, and there are more in my electorate that should be upgraded, and I'll continue to put submissions into the government and fight for them. But what everyone who plays sport knows is you follow the rules, because if you don't follow the rules and you win, you can never really be proud of your victory. Thank you.
I thank the member for that contribution. The immediate question is that the words proposed to be amended stand